Welcome to Mum Days, a beautiful collective of mamas and experts sharing wisdom, inspiration, and life hacks to support us on this journey through the hazy days of motherhood. So welcome to our Mom Days broadcast, and this is a topic I am excited about. I've actually put on my Wonder Woman earrings. I'm all geared up because we are hitting hormones and hormone chat, and mamas, we need to hear about this at any age and stage, to be honest. And as my 9-year-old likes to call them, hormones. So
good. I was looking at your earrings and I was trying to figure out what they were. And I'm so glad you pointed them out because I was.
That's amazing. My incredibly talented sister-in-law makes these.
Oh my gosh, those are incredible.
I know. A little shout out for Ume by Miriam. She does the most gorgeous diffuser jewelry, but she made these
beautiful. Love it. Right? I love it.
So I have the pleasure of having my friend and the most beautiful, wise woman I have ever met when it comes to hormones and our just caring about women's health is something that I'm passionate about, obviously at various stages, but you've got it covered as well in a much more in-depth expert kind of way. So let me introduce Dr. Mariza Snyder, and she is a functional practitioner, women's health expert. Definitely someone is my go-to with her books. I think you've authored 7 books. Is that correct?
Yeah, soon to be 8.
What? Soon to be 8
in April.
I've done 1, and I know how hard that is.
Girl, 1 is amazing.
Oh my gosh. Once you get 1 done, it's kind of like, I don't know. Do I want more children?
Exactly. Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. She's got 2 boys, and she just got her book out, and she's actually in Canada as well, Dr. Stephanie Estima, and she's calling it like her daughter. And I was like, it's so perfectly fitting because she doesn't have a daughter, and she's just like, this is my daughter. She keeps like showing it, this like, how you do.
I love it. That is exactly, it is a birthing process.
Yes.
That's totally what it is. And you are a new mama, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's 11 weeks today.
Oh my
11 weeks today. So yeah, so birthing 2 babies at once.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember doing that with my youngest. Yes. It was business goals at the same time as having a baby. And I think I was in the middle of Diamond Club for the first time ever. All kinds of fun things like that. Yeah, it was a little stressful. So let's jump into it because I know there's lots that we can talk about this.
Yes.
We'll probably talk more. I know we will in the future because I love chatting with you about this stuff. But we, like as women, I think we really, the joke aside about it being hormones, we kind of approach that part of our body either with a bit of mystery, like it's just something that happens chemically in my body I have no control over, or it's something that we really dread. And maybe both, right? Maybe it's both of those things. Or you've heard from your doctor or healthcare provider at some point that you're this or you're that, or you need this or you that. And it left me as I head into perimenopause years, it left me feeling really confused but I feel great. Everything seems normal, but there's a few things starting to shift. What can I expect? So I kind of want to know from you, from your story a little bit, what led you to this? What makes you passionate about this topic?
Well, like so many women, probably every woman I've ever met, I started having period issues when I was very young and had no idea what, I just didn't, it wasn't on my radar to pay attention to. I grew up, this is maybe just an aside, but I grew up Catholic and it was like the monthly sin.
Yeah, it does have an impact.
Yeah, it totally, especially for my mother's mother. And so for me, it was just something I dreaded. I got migraines. I had terrible mood swings and symptoms. And, you go to your doctor and I remember this doctor saying, I could take this away. I could take this away for 3 months. And I was like, sign me up. Yeah. And I was in college and so I was on the Depo-Provera shot, which is this horrific shot to be on. It just definitely, I do not ever recommend it. And I remember coming off of it after, because the symptoms were so much worse. And I came off of that about a year in. And it took a year to get my period back. And when
Wow.
it came back, guess what? Nothing changed. It wasn't any better. And it wasn't until I would say I would say like 7 years later. At the same time, I was having period issues and I didn't know why. I was also running like a cheetah into my future, as so many people do in my 20s. And I was very much in survival mode. I was addicted to stress. I was addicted to coffee and peanut M&Ms and anything that could get me through the day. And my mom was that way. My mom was in survival mode. She was hustling, handling business. And so I was like, this is just how it is. And every time I ask people, like, am I supposed to feel this way? I had been putting on weight. I was exhausted by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just felt pretty crummy. My periods were pretty awful. And my mom's like, yeah, suck it up, buttercup. Like, this is the woman's life. And I was like, okay, all right, well then I'm just going to keep charging on until I charged right into massive chronic fatigue at the age of 30. And I remember I was in practice. I was seeing women with similar issues, but like symptoms all over the place, and doctors not knowing what was going on. And it all kind of looked like how I was feeling and how my body was responding. And I remember going to a doctor, just an OBGYN, someone who specialized in hormones, but did run my hormones. A lot of doctors won't do it. They'll tell you that they're not necessary. They're just like, it doesn't matter. And it does matter. So she ran the hormones, and sure enough, everything was off. Everything was completely whacked out because our hormones are interconnected. They're literally communicating with one another. So when one goes off the rails, it's usually taking the gang of them with it. And so she's like, yeah, you're a hot mess. I'm like, yeah, I've been knowing. Thanks for validating that.
Yeah. I feel
didn't I tell you I was a hot mess? And she's like, here, I got a couple things for you. And I remember I was just like so excited. I was like, okay, she's got something for me, like real something. And no, she had birth control and Xanax is what she had for me. And so that was it. She's like, here you go, Miss Thing, out the door. And I remember just looking at her dumbfounded, astounded, and just I wouldn't call it disappointed, more so just beyond discouraged. Yeah. I remember walking out of there and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because this isn't going to get me where I want to go. I'm not going to heal this chronic fatigue with these pills. And I remember sitting in my car and realizing, like, I got to figure this out. I have to. I'm 30 years old. Like, this can't be my trajectory for the next many, many decades of my life. And then I also realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, how many women are literally walking into those doors right now and gonna get the same scripts that I just got. And that set me on my crusade of like, I have got to figure out not only what's wrong with me, but also I wanted to be a part of the solution. I knew this was an issue. I knew women were dealing with this. And I knew that the reaction or the response in the doctor's office was, here's some pills, or I got nothing for you.
Yeah. Or there's nothing wrong with you.
Or even better yet, there's nothing wrong with you. I don't know what's worse. There's nothing wrong with you, or you're simply going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. Like, again, that buck up kind of mentality. And we get one or the other.
Yep. And it's, absolutely. It's funny because I can so relate to that story in the fact that that's how it sent me on my path of doing what I did. It was my first birth and watching how birth happened, and was like, oh, hold on. Not my first person, but the first one I attended. And that set me on a whole crusade as well. So I can completely appreciate where you're coming from. You grab onto something and go, there's got to be a better way. And I have the ability to figure it out. So let's do something about this.
Especially with birth, especially the whole process. I mean, if I could just stamp informed consent everywhere.
Ask first, please.
Please.
Right?
Please. And don't patronize me.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same. I think as women in general, it's something we all fight with our health, right? It's always that, like you said, it's that kind of talk down to of just suck it up. This is how it is. This is how you're made. And my daughter asks me this all the time. I have 2 boys and my middle one's a little girl. And her and I have some very honest conversations because she's 9 now and she's like needing to shower and things that she never cared about before. And the boys aren't even doing that. Like, I'm like, where hormones are happening in the middle here. And the other 2 sides, nothing's going on with the boys, right? So she's like, why do I get stinky some days? And how come I am grumpy? And I'm like, oh, darling, let's talk. But I'm very conscientious of, it's not just, hey, this is how you are. Or, and I think that's important. Like you were talking about from your grandmother, your mom, that wasn't something that was really talked about. I mean,
No.
in my house, I had an older sister, and that was such a blessing because not that I couldn't ask my mom these things, but it just was that topic. It was just like, it's just what it is.
Totally. I remember when I got my period, I was at the roller skating ring. I was wearing, it was I was early 90s, 91, I think. And I had my little thing was bunched up, and I had these little cut off jean shorts. And I went to the bathroom in the middle of skating. And Mariah Carey was playing or Britney Spears or something. I don't know. New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
And so yeah, New Kids on, not Britney yet. Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness. I remember coming home and, not to see my mom or anything, but she kind of just threw some pads at me and there was no conversation.
Yeah.
And so that was very much, I know that's how her mama treated it. And right. So there's so much has changed. And I think about, I don't know if we're going to get into this at but how we can leverage our cycle as our unfair advantage, how much wisdom and empowerment there is in owning our cycle and owning how to leverage it. And so, it's very, very different. I'm so glad that we're really changing the narrative, but even still, you go to your medical office on average, you're going to probably get a lot of the same run of the mill recommendations or nothing. And that's just because it's, doctors, they know what they know and they're following protocols. And yes, we would want all of our doctors to go in and look at the most current research and to look at, what's really going on with our bodies. But they're slammed and they've got protocols to follow. And that's pretty much what's going down.
Absolutely. Yeah. They know what they know. I love that. I say that about everything relating to our bodies, right? You're going to know the parts you've been trained in and they're not all specialists in all areas. So that's fair enough. I would love to know what are, like in your experience, what are most of the common hormonal imbalances? Is there a root cause to these that you see or a few of them? What are some of those things?
Yeah. So you think about like period problems, let's just say, because that's the thing, right? PMS, period problems. But the thing is it's not a period problem per se. It's, that is a messenger. That's your body saying something isn't right. We got to figure this out. So it's basically your menstrual cycle. If you're finding yourself, your menstrual cycle is off. Your menstrual cycle isn't off because it chose to be off, or that it personally, those hormones, estrogen and progesterone, opted to stop working for you. No, they're always they're doing their best to stay on track despite what must be going on. But there are root causes that are driving that, and so that's what I think the most heartbreaking thing is if a doctor's like, here's some birth control, which is by the way a hormonal contraceptive to stop pregnancy if in case you're not trying to get pregnant. That's all that is. That's what the purpose of a pill, the hormonal birth control pill is. It's not going to fix, it's not going to regulate, it's definitely not going to get to the root cause of the reason why your cycle
may a whole slew of other.
Yes, definitely lots of unfortunate side effects due to the pill. Yeah, it's including gut dysbiosis, including changing brain function, changing moods. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so when we're looking at root causes, we got to kind of step all the way back. And when I see root causes, when I'm looking at women, there are basically 5 major areas that I like to focus on or like to kind of dive into. One is stress and trauma. Stress and trauma are big. Trauma really kind of being, whether it's when you're a child or as an adult or it happened last week. A lot of the reason why we're in a state of kind of chronic perceived stress has a lot to do with what may have happened to us before as well. So just note that I call these 2 the intangibles because we really have we can't measure these. But if you and I were in the same car or we're going to the same place or we got the same text message from the same person, right? You and I we would definitely respond differently to that based on what had happened to us in the past, anything that kind of has led up to us to that moment. And so I think stress is a big one that's playing a role here.
And they get buried. I'm throwing that in there just because I learned that very quickly when I ended up with just adrenal fatigue a few years ago. And I realized it was just my body. I used to think my body's betraying me. It's letting me down. And the truth is, after a lot of therapy, it wasn't. It was that you're burying this stuff and your body's done with it. It's like, forget it. I've had it. You need to deal with this. And it will come out in whatever ways it needs to show you. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that they're
Especially,
intangible is so true. Yeah.
yeah, especially physiologically, it'll definitely show back up. It'll show back up in an autoimmune condition. It'll show back up in migraines. It'll show back up in cancer. So yeah, so
Yeah.
something just to be mindful. And I know the question, well, how do I even begin to deal with this? And trauma definitely is a big one. You know, there's a lot of different. There's tapping. There is, you know, yeah, oils can be helpful. I mean, there's so many different ways to kind of clearly having a great therapist can be helpful. But when it comes to stress, a lot of great self-care can support. Oils can help, breath can help, becoming aware of when you're feeling that stress come on. There's a lot of different strategies and techniques for that. The next is going to be environmental toxins. So heavy metals, you know, xenoestrogens, any of that. And, you know, it's so funny as today in my summit, it's all about environmental toxins and how they impact our hormones. But like you think about all the things that we drink and we eat, we put on our skin, we go out into the world, those are playing a role. And there's a lot that we can do. We can make over our cleaning cabinet. We can make over our medicine cabinet. We can make over our personal care items. We could have, you know, when it comes to free things, I know one wants to do this right now because there's blizzards all over, but opening your windows, not wearing shoes into the house, dusting and vacuuming often. These are really easy things that we can do to just reduce our exposure. Some pretty inexpensive things is house plants, especially for the wintertime.
We have house mine alive. I have beautiful plants that my family has given me, and they're like, "You can do this."
You can. We've got the little. I have one right here. A couple of the little snake plants that are almost impossible to kill. Oh,
I've got those. They're living. I made it. They're still alive.
So you can just put those in every room.
Yes.
So we have 2 or 3 house plants in every room in the house. Awesome. I am also I have a difficult time keeping plants alive, but luckily there are people in my life who can keep plants alive. So yes.
Me too. I love it.
And so there's a lot of different ways. So environmental toxins, I know I'm giving solutions as I go. And then the next one is going to be, what am I having a little moment? Toxins, heavy metals, my brain. And so then we're talking about like gut issues. So gut issues. So either whether it's some type of inflamed gut, or it's a dysbiosis, or it's a SIBO, or it's a leaky gut. I know 80% of adults at this point have some level of leaky gut, right? Yeah. Everything's a spectrum. You may not have a significant leaky gut, but you definitely got some leakage, unfortunately. And stress plays a role in that as well. And so that is definitely absolutely linked to our hormones not working properly, especially our menstrual cycle. And then the other one, so I'm linking trauma. You can see my mom brain is on full effect right now. I'm like,
I gotcha.
Why aren't I remembering these things? And then clearly, mentioned toxins, but also really the food that we're consuming. And so nutrient deficiencies. So whether, if you've got a leaky gut, or you've got a situation where your gut microbiome is a little bit off, you're not going to be able to take in as much nutrients. And also you may not just be getting enough nutrients. Most women are vitamin D deficient. Even if you're taking a multivitamin, I want to see 5,000 units of vitamin D3 with K1 and K2. That's what it's going to take for us to really.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I have mine around 4,000 and I'm like, okay.
No, 5,000. Most of us, especially when we're living in the US and Canada, we just don't get enough sun. And it's weird. And we deplete. If you're feeling any level of stress, or that you're dealing with any of those other stressors, best believe your body is running through supplementation and nutrients very, very fast. The ones that we run through the most are going to be B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin D. Iron is huge for women. Most of us are deficient in that. And then the other one that I recommend, the other two, usually selenium is a big one on that list, because so often our thyroids need a little bit of help, and definitely our liver. And then the other liver lover, which is very, very little in most supplements, which breaks my heart, is choline. Choline is a big one. So your liver absolutely has to have choline to function, but your brain also needs choline to function as well. And if you look at most multis, it's very little choline in them. And that was huge for me being pregnant, as I was taking a ton of choline, because babies need a lot of choline for brain development, neurodevelopment. So I was supplementing a ton with choline during my pregnancy.
That can be added on as its own supplement.
Yeah. So I was taking what I consider to be a solid prenatal, but then I was like, it doesn't touch a lot of these particular nutrients for neurological development.
I get asked all the time. So that's good to know. I'll add that to my list because that's one I haven't thought of adding on. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I had this incredible brain book that I read for babies. Honestly, it scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my God. It was the first baby book I read was this brain book because I was like, I should probably focus on the brain. And it was scary. But it was a whole multiple chapters on all the basically how much more you would need than any multivitamin they'd ever seen or any prenatal. And so I jacked up my supplements big time. Amazing. For Kingston.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's the thing is sometimes you don't know until you look, right? Or until you read or until somebody else tells you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And a prenatal is great. It's just, we, especially pregnant mamas, it's a lot of energy expenditure, and so you're burning through a lot of those things. And so those are the big root causes. I would say it's what we're eating, nutrient deficiencies, the toxins in our environment, the stress, and then what's happening with our gut. Those are the big heavy hitters when I look at what could be causing our hormones to become disarrayed. Because again, they're not doing it on their own accord. It's oftentimes that they don't have a precursor or they're not able to get to the receptor site. Or one hormone steals the other one. There's just a lot, and it's because it's trying to get by. So, there's just a lot, but those root causes are what's usually driving a lot of it.
Now those are 5 big things, right?
Yes, they are massive thing.
Yeah. And I love that you have your summit. That is I've been eating it up. It's such good information. Every time you do one, it's I could just absorb it all. But when you're breaking, even if you had to break down each of those things, we're not going to do that today. No. But if you were to just for an individual, if I was what is one part of that I can pull out and look at right now? Right.
Yes, 100%.
And I found for myself after working with a naturopath, I realized I did have, because of the adrenal fatigue, she's like, you have really serious leaky gut going on. And I've always been pretty healthy. I take care of myself, but the stress was really doing number.
Literally, stress just pokes holes literally through your epithelial layer. Yes. Whether you are eating the best, you're taking the best probiotics, you're drinking the best green juices on the market, you're stressed.
You just said you're basically wasting your money because it's all just going right through you. Nothing's being absorbed.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully some of it is. I mean, he definitely.
Hopefully but her point was we need to heal this up.
For sure. You can't keep dumping into the void.
Yeah. And I found such a beautiful change when I really pulled that one section of my health out and went, okay, right now for the next year, I'm not going to stress too much about the things I can't control right now, but I am going to work a bit on some of that therapy stuff that I've kind of buried away. I know I need to deal with some of those things, work on some forgiveness, right? Some of those things that we leave behind. But yeah, it was just that gut work. And as soon as I started to heal up that intestinal lining, I could feel the balance starting to come back. I could feel everything kind of fell into place. And I think that's the thing with, as your hormones are fighting maybe, or are trying to find that pathway, it's that balancing act of how can we figure it out. So like we were saying, how doctors don't necessarily, have the right way to direct us. What should we do that?
Yeah. This is the $1 million question, right? Yeah. Let's just assume that as a woman, and let's assume you're a woman and you're 30, there's a good chance there's some hormone deregulation going on, mainly because your hormones are literally rapid firing messages a gajillion times a second, right? And so there's got to at some point be a little bit of a miscommunication to happen. So let's just say, you're feeling tired, you're feeling brain fogged, you got a little bit of weight coming on, you're feeling a little bit irritable, you're not able to sleep so much. Any and all of that falls under the umbrella of hormones. And so what do you do first? Holly, you nailed it, right? It's going to be your gut and your liver. So I say the trifecta is gut, liver, and stress. And the beautiful thing is we can knock out 2 with 1 stone. So thank goodness for that. So the first step, and everyone's going to be like, boring. It's food. It is, girl, it's food.
It's always food.
It's always food. It's always food. Yeah. And you gotta add in the super sexy, healthy ones. So for me, it's going to be fiber, healthy fats. So fiber, you can get, definitely you want it in the form of a lot of greens and lots of veggies, color of the rainbow. You can also get a fiber supplement. You can add it to your smoothies. I say both. Most of us don't get enough fiber. Fiber is great for healing the gut, great for stabilizing sugar levels, great for liver, helping to make sure you poop and supporting your estrobolome, which helps to break down excess estrogen so that your liver isn't burdened. I mean, fiber is a game
Amazing.
changer. We need about 40 grams a day. We get about 11 on average.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, we get like literally a fourth of what we need. Okay, so just fiber.
Yeah.
Number 2 is protein. Especially as we hit our 30s and beyond, as mamas, we're just depleted. Like mama, that's just it. Mama equals depletion, and not and mama also equals abundance and
All
love
the good things. Yeah.
and fill up. But also, you're running on fumes. You know you are.
Yeah.
Goodness knows, I know I am right now. So protein, step up the protein intake, whether it's plant-based or animal-based. If you can do animal-based, I do recommend, wild-caught salmon and wild-caught fish, grass-fed animals as much as possible. It's just, we assimilate that protein better and it helps our liver to detoxify. Our liver needs amino acids to function. So big there. And then healthy fats. So avocado, almonds, again, fatty fish, olive oil in massive abundance. Make sure it's good olive oil. But yeah, that's going to be, and honestly, that's it. That's all you get. For 21 days, I always recommend we get rid of any inflammatory foods for 21 days, focusing on those 3 big food groups. And it's amazing how much your gut begins to heal and your liver begins to function better. That's the big one. And then if you can supplement with, like I said, just having a great making sure you're taking your omegas, adding in a little bit more vitamin D, making sure that you're taking methylated B vitamins, because I don't know if you have a methylation issue or not. And I just don't know. And you don't know either. So good idea to just take a methylated B vitamin complex. It's got choline in it. And making sure that you're getting enough iron and you're getting enough zinc and magnesium. Those are going to be the 5, I
had a question the other day. I'm just, before I forget it, somebody asked me, because I had shown pictures or done a video, and we use a spray for the kids and I with our B vitamin and our D and our C, actually. They're all sprays and they're all methylated. And somebody was like, oh, but is it as potent, or is it as absorption wise? Sprays, drops?
I mean, especially for kids. I mean, kids, and not to say that there aren't some really great organic gummies out there, but I think a spray is just as good as a gummy. I mean, kids aren't going to take a bunch of horse pills. You know what I'm saying? Especially kids. I mean, I think about with my son, we give him the vitamin D drops every single day. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
I just sure. I'm like, is there a better or worse? I don't know.
No, that's great.
Doing the same thing.
Unless you found like a gummy that you really love, that it's got good ingredients. And there's a lot of gummies out there, as sexy as they are.
Yeah.
A little scary.
My husband's in love with his melatonin gummies.
Okay. Yeah. There's so many yummy gummies out there. Yeah. And then the last thing is going to be just having anywhere, getting where you fit in, some de-stressing self-care rituals. That's really what it comes down to. And honestly, the game changer is just having a great essential oil, like a lavender or bergamot or whatever oils you love. Maybe you have a blend that you love, and you just do, some deep belly breaths for a minute. Have a little chime on your phone where you can do that 3 to 4 or 5 times a day. And you will reset the stress response system, which has a massive implication in terms of the cascade of hormones. And so if we can control what's happening in the pituitary gland and in the hypothalamus, we can really set the tone for what's going on. Journaling is great. Walking outside in nature, maybe not right now, is great, depending on where you live.
I'm making myself do it anyway.
Yeah. And we're taking a walk with Kingston at the beach today. I won't tell you don't know.
My 4 feet of snow on my back deck.
I won't say nothing. And so, any of those little ways, but just carving out time for you. And even with me, with a 3-month-old, I'm making it happen. I'm journaling every day. I'm doing like a 5-minute meditation every day. One of my favorite, I have the Inner Balance, the heart coherence technology that you just put on your little finger. You have to buy it, and I have the app, and I just get myself into heart coherence every single day. And as a mama, I think that's just such a big, wonderful thing to do for the family is for me to be in heart coherence. And it takes 3 to 5 minutes. And so if you can afford that technology, that's great. But oils and breathing are phenomenal. And that's it. If you focus on eating healthy, bringing in those top 5 supplements and bringing in 15 minutes of self-care a day that focuses on reducing stress levels, you are a different person in 3 weeks.
Absolutely. And I love that you said 15 minutes because we've got all our millennials who are like, oh my gosh, I got up at 10
Hour and a half.
and I had my coffee and then I sat on the deck and I'm like, more power to you, babe. Like, I love that you can live that life. I love it. But
I am not going to lie. I'm mourning that life a lot right now. I love my super Alex hashtags #1 stunner. Like, we just think our baby is so cute. And so, he's just soft on the eyes. Yeah. He's super cute. And so, and he's wonderful and I love him, but man, I loved my Bentley self-care routine in the morning. I ain't gonna lie, to kick it. And so, yeah, no, it's gone.
It shifts. It really does. And that's the thing. I remember through each baby, like that would just shift huge. There were weeks where it was like gone. Like, like if I got a bath once in the week and could like have a quiet moment, it was heavenly. But I think when we take the idea that it has to be like an hour of meditation and an hour of journaling, and like these moms are like, not going to happen.
This is self-care for me today. Yeah. Getting to talk to you, girl. Right. And I did get a 30-minute workout in. So I'm super happy. Yeah.
But that's what it could be. Like one of my friends who lives on the street, she's having her 4th soon. We getting out for a walk together. Like we were like, hey, she's like, I see you walking every couple of days. I'll join you. And I'm like, please, let's go. We can walk together. So we're literally in 4 feet of snow, but the roads are clear. So we can do it. But something like that where you actually have to make it happen. You're right. You have to make it happen. But it could be 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. It could be once the kids are in bed, you do throw some oils in the bath and some Epsom salts and you go soak for 10 minutes or whatever. Let yourself rest. But I think the important thing, like you said, is doing it throughout the day, not just saying I'm going to do this once a week or I'm going to go to the gym twice a week. Doing something that's practical for you once a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, just like smelling like bergamot. Oh, so that is my life.
But we're talking 30 seconds. I mean, we've got 30 seconds.
And go.
Yeah. And honestly, it is non-negotiable for our survival. Yeah. Now burnout is finally a medical diagnosis. Yeah. And so many people are feeling that, but definitely mamas are feeling that more than ever. We have more on our plates than ever before. We're caring for more people, more community than ever before. And something's got to give.
Yeah.
And something's going to give. I don't care how many green smoothies and green juices and, how many stuff you try to supplement your way out of chronic stress. It's just not going to happen. No. Now it will help you. I'm not going to lie.
It'll maintain you. Yeah.
Agree, to a point. But that's just it. I know I've been there and I can't afford to go back there.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is your chronic fatigue, guess what? It turns into Hashimoto's. It turns into an autoimmune condition. It turns into low thyroid function. And I'll be honest with you, we have the summit going right now and people are asking, well, is Dr. Mariza on thyroid medication? And I'm like, yeah, I am, because I've really messed it up.
Yeah.
And there's it's a limitation of matter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that function back. Did I stop the damage? Like from this point forward? Yes. Right. Am I continuing to mess it up? No. But what unfortunately did happen requires me to stay on medications. And I would love to not be on a thyroid med. That would be great, but it's not where I'm at right now. Yeah. And so I just wanted to just speak into that. And, I wish I knew now what happened, during then I thought I could live in burnout forever. Yeah. And I thought it was just I was like, oh, chronic fatigue. Hopefully I can get over this. But then it spiraled into
my way out of it.
No. It spiraled into something else. And I just want to, and I don't want to scare people. I don't want to freak anyone out, but it's just the real story for me, and I just wish I would have known. If I just would have taken 5 minutes a couple times a day, I probably could have circumvented the bigger health issue down the road.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. That's super vulnerable. And I know that that's something, especially in our field of expertise, is that both of us work in, that can kind of sometimes hit you, right? Where you're like, well, you're on something, you're taking medications. It's there for the purpose we need it for.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that. And there's no shame in that. That is like healthy to take care of your body in the way that it's needing it at that point. But yes, I mean, we did the fertility cleanse program together. You were a beautiful guest on my program. And here I am, 2 years later, dealing with infertility for 2 years, going, why didn't I take care of my stress levels 3-4 years ago, right? Like I never thought I would be facing this problem because it's never been a problem. Meanwhile, 4 years in of trying to heal my gut and trying to, right, find a routine to keep the stress levels down, saying no to things, clearing out my life a bit. The things I wish I had known. But I think every mom, I think all of us, the mom guilt, but all of us have the shoulda, wouldas, I always jokingly tell mom to stop shooting on yourselves.
Oh, I know. So true.
Right?
Well,
Because
yeah, absolutely.
you do what you know and you do what you know at the time. So when you do what you know, that's fine. When you know better, you start to do better. And that's why I love what you're doing with your books and with the summits and all of that. Seriously, like we need this information. Like we were saying, you're not going to necessarily get this in the traditional places.
No.
So
and it's so crazy.
Get out. Yeah.
Yeah. I was definitely concerned about postpartum. And a postpartum perimenopause.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to go perimenopause just because of postpartum. And I'm so grateful that I waited as long as I did at 41 as a new mama, first time mama. But I'm so grateful that I know what I know now, or know what I've done. I've done the due diligence. I've done all the research. I teach on this all the time because I knew that I had like a double threat. Not only is postpartum its own journey and recovery, but also perimenopause is no joke either. And so I was like, okay, how are we going to, and I was like, okay, if there's anyone who can navigate this with grace, it's going to be me. I can do this. I know what to do. Yeah. And I've been so grateful, at speaking into, my health issues. And then someone with, thank God, remission in Hashimoto's, but I was just like, ooh, I know a lot of women deal with thyroid issues once they enter into postpartum as well. So it's definitely going to be an interesting situation just to see what happens, how I'm navigating that. But I'm so grateful to, the things that I talked about today, the self-care, making sure I'm eating well, making sure I'm well supplemented. I do other things too, but let's just say that those are the non-negotiables. Yeah. I've been able to eat. I feel like I've had a lot of ease and grace during postpartum and just being in perimenopause at the same time. And so I do know that it doesn't have to be super complicated. It's just about consistency.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's some personal stuff and it's so beautiful to hear because that's what we relate to, right? We need to know what's working for other people and how are we all handling these things. So I would like to know how they're going to find you and also your next book. I want to know what it's about.
So, basically the book is called The Essential Oil Menopause Solution.
Wow.
And so, but it also is for women in perimenopause and menopause. So women late 30s and older. It's a lot of the things that we see that really kind of go to the surface when we're in our mid to late 40s and 50s. We start to see little bits of that in our late 30s, early 40s. And so that it's really encompassing for all the ladies. But when I wrote my last one, the hormone solution, a lot of women came to me in their in perimenopause and menopause, and they're like, is there anything in here for me? And so I knew I needed to speak into that more specifically. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the book. It'll be coming out very, very soon. It's available for pre-order. It's on Amazon all over the place right now. And then where you can find me. So I have a podcast as well. It's called Essentially You. And we dive into the nitty gritty of like endometriosis, PCOS.
Oh my God, that's amazing. You're by far my favorite podcast.
Yeah. Aw.
No, really. Like I learned so much when I listened to it.
I think it's so critical that we get the answers that we've been asking for, the answers that we've been seeking, and then what to do next. Yeah. I think that those are both so critical. And I spend hours and hours. It's been a little less hours now that I've had the baby. Yeah. But there was back last year, especially with my solos, I was spending about 7+ hours for every episode.
Wow.
Researching and writing it, making sure it worked, making sure I got to the punchline of what people wanted. And so there's a lot of love and time and effort that goes into that podcast.
You can tell. Definitely. Yeah. It comes out. Okay. I love that. So we'll make sure we have all your links up. Everybody can find you and get on I can't wait to get the book. So I'm going to go on Amazon and do the pre-order. So thank you so much. Thank you. This was so much fun to chat with you. It's always a joy to chat.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I know we can do this again. I hope.
Yes, please.
Would you like to learn more? Find me on Instagram and YouTube at Mom Days Podcast.